All right, welcome everyone to today's live stream with Tradeify Crypto. We got myself and Boris here today. How's it going, Boris? How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm good. We have Glenn, the winner of a account yesterday, saying Jonatan was right about BTC dropping. I actually closed that long trade right at the very top yesterday, so that was pretty good. We're gonna have Anastasiia coming in just a bit as well. See if she held on to that long. So that's gonna be interesting. Anything you're trading today, Boris? Anything you're watching?
Yeah, I'm actually watching just the price action of Bitcoin, but really what I'm waiting for is, we talked about this yesterday about, geopolitical events, and, as we all know, Trump gave Iran like an ultimatum that by Tuesday night if they don't sign a deal, that he's going to do some things over there. So I'm kind of just sitting on my hands right now, not really putting on any major positions, because I want to see what's going to happen with this event, because this is very, an event that we don't usually see in the markets. So I'm kind of waiting for the news. I don't really trade the news, but I just feel like right now it's not a good time to be putting on swing trades.
No, I also, especially with Bitcoin being in this range, not really interested in putting in any swing positions. Let me see. I'm going to remove some drawings on here, and we got that range. Let me take a look at this. So what we talked about yesterday was we also had that. We have a rejection of that range EQ right here, but I want to kind of pick up where we left off yesterday, because we looked at this range right here. We also have, I believe we have Anastasiia in the background, so whenever she's ready, we can bring him on. Her, not him, her. Wow, what am I saying? It's been a long day. All right, there we go. Anastasiia, what's up? Welcome.
Hey, Jonathan. You've been working since yesterday? You haven't slept?
No. Of course, I love sleeping. Of course, I've slept, but I do. I'm studying for CMT3, so I got this pad. Like an e-reader, right? And I read at night, because I don't really have a lot of time to study during days. So I study. When it's time to go to bed, I lay in bed reading that. So yeah, it's been a couple of late nights. Did you?
I remember you were studying for the first part still, so now you're already on the part 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's massive.
Yeah, I didn't think I was gonna go through all of the stages this quick. It's gonna be if I pass CMT3, it's gonna be exactly one year to do all the 3, and I think that's the quickest you can do it. But I actually bought. What's up, Boris?
I'm just curious, how difficult of a test is it? Because I myself, as a trader, was interested in taking the CMT, and I think a lot of viewers are perhaps interested in that certification as well.
So I think so CMT, and we're actually going to have a CMT coming on next week as well. So we're going to be talking about that with him. But yeah, the CMT, I believe, if you guys are watching and you're interested in taking that course or getting that certification, it's like if you have no interest in working in the industry as an analyst or a researcher, or working at a firm, or actually starting your own firm and stuff like that, then maybe it's not the best thing to do. But if you want to build a career within the trading industry, not just as a trader but as an analyst and maybe portfolio managers and things like that, then CMT is really, really good, because what it does is CMT1 kind of gives you the foundations of technical analysis. It gives you the history of technical analysis, and it gives you the why it works and all of that. It looks a little bit at what all the indicators are. So it's not like when you talk about RSI, it's not like, okay, it gives you just when you buy a trading course, it's basically going to tell you, okay, RSI is a momentum oscillator, and when it's in the oversold territory, you want to look for buys. When it's oversold, overbought and all of that. But CMT goes in depth. Like, it looks at who created it, what are the actual mathematical formulas for getting the values out of the RSI, and then it looks at it from all the different angles and how to use it. And then it does that for maybe 50 to 100 different indicators, and you actually need to know all of that. So the CMT1 test asks you stuff like, who created RSI, when was it created, what's the mathematical formula behind RSI, and then it can ask a question of like, why is the RSI a leading indicator, right? But then you think like, well, it's not a leading indicator, right? It's a lagging indicator. But if it's an RSI divergence, then that's actually leading, right? Because divergences come before the price moves. So I think it's actually very, very difficult. But I'd say if you spend, 1 to 2 hours of studying for, 4 or 5 months, you should be good. But it's insanely good knowledge. I'm just rambling on. Go ahead.
But so even as an experienced trader, you think the material is, I guess, a bit difficult or hard to grasp because you're dealing with mathematical formulas and stuff?
So the thing is, I've gone through a lot of different trading courses, right? And I can definitely say that a lot of the trading courses that I've bought, I spent a lot of money in trading courses. I've bought probably most of the trading courses out there, right? And I've seen now in my career and with the knowledge that I have in technical analysis now, I haven't found a course that gives me something new, something extra. It's all about basically repurposing other courses, right? Putting a different name on it. So it's difficult for me to find unique trading advice and how to use indicators that I don't already know about. But with CMT, it really gives you CMT gives you a whole nother perspective on technical analysis that I've never seen in any other trading course. It really gives you everything you need to know to master technical analysis, because it's not just looking at technical analysis in terms of indicators. It's looking at all the foundational stuff and all the basic stuff in technical analysis, but it goes into a very, very deep level of explaining everything. And then it also talks about system developments and portfolio management and how to work together with fundamental analysts, right? So it first gives you the knowledge that you need for technical analysis, and then it tells you how to apply that to a framework where you're working together with fundamental analysts and quantitative analysts. So it kind of sets you up for a career as a research analyst or someone within a firm, basically.
Awesome. I think you just sold me on the CMT course, so I think I'm gonna actually look into it.
Yeah, it's actually pretty. It's very cool. It's the information is great. Just like one example is they're running a investment challenge, right? The CMT investment challenge, and it's only open for candidates and people with the CMT charter. And it's you can trade the stock market, so you can trade all the companies within the S&P 500 and all the sector ETFs. And what I did was I joined that competition, but I've never traded a stock in my life, But what I did was I took all the information that I learned from the CMT curriculum and I coded a trading system with Claude Code. So now every morning, Claude Code sends me a report on the strongest sectors within the S&P 500 and the strongest companies within those sectors, and then it recommends me which ones I should look at, and I do technical analysis on that. And it's been going on for 1 week now, and I'm at spot number 10 out of all of these hundreds of people, and I've never traded the stock in my whole life. You know, that's insane to me. It's like you take the knowledge and then you just apply it to an asset that you've never traded, and you're able to beat, hundreds of people. It's just insane to me. So this just tells me, that technical analysis is just universal, and when you have the right information and you apply it in the right way, you can trade any markets. Yeah, highly recommended.
From your perspective now, as you already taken the third part of the exam, technical analysis, is it performing better on the stock market, or is it performing better on the liquid markets, like, for example, currencies, so forex market? So because it's completely different, right? It's completely different behavior, different liquidity. So what's your opinion on that?
So I think, it's a good question, but I think it's about how you apply technical analysis. So I find that for me it works best on the forex market and on Bitcoin. Like on Bitcoin, it's quite simple because Bitcoin follows, and we're going to talk about this soon as well when we kind of dive into the high time frame picture of crypto. But Bitcoin follows liquidity cycles quite nicely, and because of that, it has clearly defined tops and bottoms. So you have accumulation ranges, distribution ranges, and then the trends between them. Like I can show you here on this chart, the ones I just had up here. If you look at the structure that we usually trade within on Bitcoin, this is basically what we're seeing right here. This is basically the global liquidity cycle. We have global liquidity is topping, and here it's bottoming out, and here it's topping, and hopefully it's bottoming out here. So technical analysis on Bitcoin is very simple because of that, because you're just looking at, okay, higher highs and higher lows. But then, and it's the same within the forex market, right? You can look at a asset like AUD NCD. I mean, what happened here? Well, this was a rate differential between the Australian central bank and the New Zealand central bank. There was a difference between the rates. And I mean, this is a trend that I've been trading now for, a trade that I've been in for since December 2025, on the simple assumption that once a trend has formed, it tends to continue until it no longer continues. Like it's when you just follow the trend, right? And I think this is the same approach, right? As with Bitcoin, you have a fundamental driver pushing price higher, with Australian dollar outperforming New Zealand dollar, and therefore technical analysis becomes easier and simple. In the stock market, I feel like, for me personally, the gaps are just screwing with me. Like that is just destroying my whole view of when I do technical analysis. I mean, if you look at the stock market right now, I do have a position in Coca-Cola, which is this one right here, which I kind of like. But so the same thing applies here. It's a very obvious trend, right? You can look at the line chart. It's just an upwards trending market, higher highs and higher lows. And once you kind of broke above this level, you had that breakout. So it doesn't really matter if we look at Bitcoin. I mean, we can add Bitcoin to this chart right here. We can add, again, AD NCD to this chart. And what we're seeing here is all of these markets are showing us directional moves, right? So we got on the orange one is Coca-Cola. We can see overall higher highs and higher lows. AUD NCD, very clear trending market to the upside. And then on Bitcoin, very clear trending to the downside. So these are three different assets. It's crypto, stocks, and Forex. But we all have the same levels, right? We all have the same way of analyzing the markets from a technical perspective. So I'd say it works great on all markets. I mean, it even works on assets that you can trade. It even works on indicators, right? And that kind of, I don't really understand that, like why, because you have like an RSI, like you add a trend line on the RSI, or you add like higher highs and higher lows on the RSI. You can trade RSI, but you can do analysis on RSI. So that's pretty interesting.
That's super
now,
cool.
I don't remember your question, but I think your question was which market does it work best on? I think.
Yeah, but you answered this all the way in the beginning, but then the whole other part was also extremely interesting. So no worries.
Well, you know me. Yeah. That's what I do.
That's why I don't like trading stocks, because you have to deal with gaps, you have to deal with earnings, and
yeah,
I feel like crypto is just very technical based. So
and you can't trade on the weekend,
Yeah, and like, what am I going to do on the weekends except
exactly spend time with the family? Like, no, I want to trade crypto. I want to trade Bitcoin.
Of course not. Yeah.
Anastasiia, what happened with the trade yesterday? Did you close it? What happened?
Yeah, it hit break even for me. So it was pretty much the same as your trade. Did you take profit on this finally? So
Dude,
this is my screen, but this is our overall analysis screen. So I was marking up my ID basically on TradingView afterwards. But essentially, we are back right now at the maximum point of control. So I'm currently sitting of any positions on the Bitcoin. And the reason being is that there was a lot of things that were said yesterday by Trump. And we don't really know what's going to happen tonight, right? Because there is the information that there will be eventually their preparation for the ground operation as well in the run, depending on how the discussion is going to go. So that's going to massively depend on that. If he does like some kind of a deal that is going to be reached or close to be reached, right? It's going to be called off. We don't really know. We will see the range, I think, continuing until some kind of clarification is going to be published, because we're going to see the same exact thing on the safe haven assets, like for example gold. There was also absolutely no movement for the whole day today, right? And for Bitcoin, I did close the break even. I'm going to show it afterwards. But essentially, we are now on the high time frame, back at the point of control of this whole movement. So that's a maximum volume. On the 4 hours, we see that the price is approximately reversing, trying to reverse from the point of control of their whole consolidation area. Now, I was sharing before, this is something that is called the cumulative delta, right? So the difference between ask and bid active buyers and sellers on the specific over the big period of time. Now that for some reason doesn't want to scale. Here we go. I messed something up here. Here we go. So I trade when there is a divergence a lot between the price and the cumulative delta, because it shows either the absorption essentially, right? So we're going to see the absorption of sellers or buyers. This is one of the things that I trade and rely on. And another things that I rely on the high time frame is if we have the coincidental direction of impulsive movement for the price and for the cumulative delta. So the strong rise of cumulative delta and the strong rise of the price. For the current moment, we see there is absolutely nothing. So the price has been quite following mostly with the cumulative delta. So today's drop was also based on just the distribution of the order. So we see that cumulative delta was declining, essentially showing us that there are more sell orders, market sell orders stepping in. The price has been dropping accordingly as well. So there is absolutely nothing that I would like to see for myself to take a trade as well, because there is nothing interesting happening. So the trade was more or less like this from yesterday. So we had several times hitting the point of control of the last week. So I did finally close it when we started to drop down. It was a little bit of profit, nothing massive. So there is nothing happening. Like afterwards, we just dropped down. I did miss this sell. For me personally, it was a perfect sell opportunity. I'm not gonna lie, I missed it completely. So I did not take this trade because I was not on my charts. But what happened is that we broke below the current monthly point of control. So the April, right, the weekly April point of control, all the volume that was traded for the past day and a half, too, the majority of it, the price just rejected it perfectly. It was a perfect head and shoulders pattern. We are now dropping back down. On the 30-minute time frame, I do have more of a bearish bias. However, we are at the volume as well here that was traded before. And on the 4 hours, it's right on my reversal zone. So I have the disbalance between essentially 30-minute time frame and 4 hours, which is not ideal for me to take a trade. So I'm just sitting on the sidelines and waiting for some clarifications from the macro side, because I don't really feel it's the same for me for gold and other assets, not only for crypto at the moment, because I do think that it's going to be depending a lot on what's going to happen tonight or what's not going to happen tonight also. What about you? How did you close your trade?
Actually, if we can switch over to my screen, I will show you what happened for my trade. So I actually closed right here so this is on 1 minute. So I closed this right at the very top. Now I remember when we had the live stream yesterday, I talked about how, I looked at way higher prices, but then I remembered that, in a bear market, when there's bearish pressure, when the primary trend is down, you shouldn't look at extending your profits too much on a trade that goes against the prevailing trend. So I got out of that one, which puts me now in back around break even on at least on equity. So we have now 2 positions left open, which is on TRX, which is this one right here. If we can switch to the 4-hour chart. So we got TRX, which is based on, this is a swing short based on the fact that we have this resistance right here. And it kind of looks like now we have finally a lower high for the first time since we kind of created this this uptrend here in the beginning of March this year. So we have a lower high. It looks like we now have broken the trend here. So that one is in profit, and then we have the XLM about to potentially hit that TP soon. So this one I can finally move my stops. So I'm going to move my stops down to just above entry on that one. So securing that one, and then TRX, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to be waiting. Let's see if I can add I'm going to be adding the 20 and 50 EMA to this one. So most likely what I'm going to do is, if we have, we can see how this trend is kind of breaking, where we have sort of a weakening here. So let's say we have a chart that kind of goes like this. Maybe we'll chop around here a little bit and then move down. So once we kind of initiate that, the way I'm looking at it is if you're looking at this from a momentum perspective, you can see that, like, if we have a momentum indicator on here, which we don't have, but if we just look at price, we can clearly see that momentum is picking up and accelerating, and then it's slowing down, and we have more selling pressure. And eventually, if price starts slowing down and then picking up, I view it as, imagine you have like a rocket ship. Okay, imagine Elon Musk is going to launch a rocket, right? So we got the launching pad right here, SpaceX. I'm not going to write SpaceX because it's going to look stupid, but this is the rocket, right? And then up here is kind of like the atmosphere. So once the rocket shoots up, momentum picks up, but then when it gets close to the atmosphere and it's about to turn down, momentum slows down, and that's the top formation, and then momentum picks up again, right? So that's kind of what I want to see when I want to short resistance after a big up move. I want that momentum to pick up, and then the velocity of price slowing down, and then I want to pick up. And that's kind of like what what a momentum-based indicator like the RSI is based on. So let's see if we get that on RSI. Yeah, that's pretty much what we're getting, right? And that's what I want to see. So now what I need to see on RSI is a breakdown. I want to see this structure here. And I'm not going to secure this trade. I'm not going to.
Sorry, guys. It was an echo on my side. Yeah, it was me.
So I want to see price break below the 50% fib, the 50% RSI level to kind of confirm that momentum has now switched more bearish. And also look at how we have some early signs of momentum slowing down here, where we have, the first we got lower highs on RSI, higher highs on price, equal highs on RSI with price still moving higher, and now finally the RSI is breaking down. So just waiting for that confirmation the price is ready to pick up momentum to the downside before I secure this one. So I'm also going to go through some of the altcoin markets here today and see if we might enter some more trades on altcoins. But I actually wanted to discuss what we think about Bitcoin and the general market for the next, let's say, three months, right? And I also have a poll in the chat, in the YouTube chat, what you guys are thinking, if you're bullish or bearish for Bitcoin in the next 3 months. So maybe we can switch screens, and I'll just gonna go through some stuff in the back end here. Thank you, that's great. And I'm going to switch to my trading view here as well. But maybe we can start with you, Anastasiia. What are you thinking in terms of Bitcoin for the next, let's say 2-3 weeks, months, I mean?
Yeah, it's actually good that you precised, which timeline are we looking at? Are we talking about 2-3 months or until the end of the year? Because I would have a different overview for the next quarter and for this year, essentially, and the end of it. So it depends what we're talking about, right? We're talking about technical analysis and macro, but let me just cover technical first, essentially, and then I'm gonna go through some macro notes that I made as well for the overview and what we depend on in terms of, in my opinion, right, in terms of the next movement of Bitcoin and in general crypto market. Right. If it comes to the Bitcoin and Ethereum, what is really important for me, and it's actually really interesting that you trade, altcoins now, because I personally completely don't touch altcoins at the moment. And my focus is solely on Bitcoin and Ethereum. The reason being is usually when the liquidity is out of the market after the shock that we've passed, in the past 1 year. After the Trump's inauguration and the first year of his presidency, usually liquidity is out of the market. And when liquidity is out of the market, the first things that are going to pick up momentum afterwards, eventually, if the market starts going again, it's going to be their Bitcoin and Ethereum. Also, in the first things that are going to crash in the shock market is going to be altcoins, because it's usually higher leverage, first of all. It's people who have less money, they can hold it shorter if the collapse happens and the shock happens, and liquidations happen faster as well, because the volatility of these altcoins is just completely different. So altcoins get liquidated and drop first, and they pick up usually later after Bitcoin and Ethereum. So the first things that are usually picking up the speed, the momentum, bullish momentum is Bitcoin and Ethereum when the situation gets a little better, So if we slightly have any kind of information that, risk on is somewhere on the horizon, potentially, Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to be the first ones, because the trust in them is much higher than the altcoins. Institutions are going to be investing more in Ethereum and the Bitcoin. And the altcoins are going to be picking up later on as more retail traders come into the crypto market. Again, the FOMO, the hype begins. Your taxi drivers start talking about the investing in Bitcoin again. And then, okay, retails come back in, but a lot of people don't have money enough to invest in Bitcoin and Ethereum, so they start investing in smaller coins. So then the alt season eventually begins. So in my personal focus for the next months is Bitcoin and Ethereum solely. Now, if we talk about, in general, the next 2-3 months, I personally think that the higher chances that we're going to be staying in the range. And let me just first mark it up technically, and then go from the fundamental perspective. So we passed crucial points for the Bitcoin, which were in around, obviously, 100K, right? The psychological level, we've been testing it a lot. For people, it's a big kind of number that a lot of people are getting attached to towards the price of Bitcoin. Now, we did pass the area of 80K, approximately 80 to 75. We passed it before, and we are stuck already for months between 60 and 75,000. Now, the next very crucial point for the Bitcoin is approximately 50K. So 50K, and then assumingly like a liquidity sweep or something, that's approximately 40K. Now, I personally do believe that we are not going to go much, even in the worst case scenario, we're not going to go much further than the 50,000. Right? Because there are several reasons for this. One of the reasons is that Trump is still a president, and Trump's son is the biggest private holder of Bitcoin at the current moment. A lot of the things that were happening in the past year and a little bit since his inauguration were meant to drop the high-risk assets to the downside. And we could notice, and we can find information, it's pretty much public, that they were buying crypto every time that it was dropping, right? There were pretty much no negative headlines from Trump regarding crypto necessarily itself, but every time that it was dropping, there was massive insiders trading before the next reversal. The fact that they are holding the huge amount of Bitcoins privately means that sooner or later they're going to do anything they can to push the price higher. Not necessarily expecting it to the all-time highs, but even if it comes back to 100K, it's still almost twice as what we have at the moment, right? So it's still quite a big growth. So I'm personally, if we're talking about the long term, so the end of the year, the next year, I would still, during the Trump's presidency, I'm still expecting the price of Bitcoin to be bullish. If it comes to the next 2-3 months, I'm expecting it on the flip side to be ranging to the bearish incline. It's going to depend a lot on the situation with Iran, and it's going to depend a lot on the Federal Reserve monetary policy, right? There are several things that I'm essentially looking for in terms of high-risk assets, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, including S&P 500, NASDAQ, Dow, and so on and so forth. So their risk on is currently limited by, first of all, the war, and secondly, the prices of oil. And for me personally, the highest probability is that the situation is not going to be resolved immediately, which means that we either going to have their indecision and continuation of the current situation with the war for some time, which is going to be mostly the indecision pattern in this case. So the price is going to most likely stay approximately more or less in the indecision zones, and with sweeps on the upper and bottom, like from the zone between 65 to 70, 72K, right? More or less. And now if the situation is going to be resolved and it's going to escalate, and if the monetary policy is going to be tightening depending on the, obviously, depending on the next, how to say it, like what the Federal Reserve is going to say on the next meeting, right? We are going to eventually even see the bottom on the Bitcoin. Now, even if in the bearish case scenario, I wouldn't be expecting Bitcoin lower than 50K, 49, 50, right? We are talking with a sweep of the liquidity to the downside. So I have two base scenarios for the next 2-3 months. Is continuation of the range. So I'm not really interested in the long-term buying at the moment, looking at how the situation with the Boris, or the continuation within this range, and not a lot of changes, right? Because besides the Iran, high prices of oil and so on, because we need to, like, a lot of people disconnect the oil prices with the high risk assets. Now, oil prices directly have their correlation with the high risk assets, because the higher oil prices, if we take, for example, stock market indices and so on, they affect the deliveries, they affect the costs for the company on many different levels, right? The energy, the deliveries, the inflation, and so many different things. So the operational costs for companies become higher, which means the profitability becomes lower. People, and besides the profitability directly, people anticipate this kind of things. They stop investing, they sell stocks and so on, which also directly correlates with the price of the indices. Now, if it comes to cryptocurrencies are mostly speculative assets, right? They are not directly used, but this is one of the easiest places to get money if you've invested in there and you need it immediately because of inflation, because of potential risk of recession, because of people losing jobs, because of mostly more difficult economical situation. If the rates are going to remain high without cutting, people will need eventually money. The easiest way to get it is withdrawing it from the high risk assets investment that you did before, which is going to be affecting the Bitcoin and Ethereum directly. So I'm mostly range/bearish for the next 2-3 months. Long term, for the next 6-12 months, I'm mostly bullish from the price that we are at the moment. So between 60 and 75K. For the next 12 months, I think we're going to be higher. For the next 2-3 months, I think we're going to be in the same range or lower. That's my opinion about that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely makes sense. So, Boris, what are you thinking? You're laggy. You seem a little bit laggy today, Boris. How's your connection? Yeah. Okay, you're lagging quite a bit actually. So it's not just me, right? It's Anastasiia. It's yours.
No.
Well.
It's Boris.
Okay.
It's not you. It's not you.
Right, so let me go into my analysis here, it's interesting to see here that in the comment section. By the way, guys, let's we're gonna do a giveaway today, right? So make sure that you do hit that like and subscribe. We're gonna see how many likes do we have now. I know we probably don't have a lot of likes. Because we are just, getting everything set up and starting this. But I would be curious to see how many likes do we actually have. I'm going to go in and check that. I can't see that from the YouTube backend. I actually have to go in and look at the actual live stream. Let's see, where do we have that? Because we want I want to activate. I want to give away an account at a specific like. Okay, so how many likes do we have right now? I can't see how many likes we have. Why can't I see how many likes we have? Is it just me? Is that just me? Can we not? That's weird. Okay, you know what? We're gonna just give away an account as well. Anyway, guys, we have a poll in the comment section. So the question is: are you bullish or bearish on Bitcoin for the next 3 months? And 73% are bullish. 73% of you are bullish for the next 3 months. Now, a follow-up question on that I would really like you guys help with is: why are you bullish for Bitcoin in the next 3 months? And where do you think we might be trading in the for the next 3 months? Because the way I'm seeing this, I'm gonna walk through a couple of things here that this morning I spent a lot of time going through my kind of updating myself on the long-term value and projection for Bitcoin. So this is quite a long analysis here, so I'm going to try to keep it short. But if you guys know me, keeping things short is not really what I'm best at, but I will try. Okay, so this right here is the MVRV. Okay, what is the MVRV? Now that MV stands for market value and RV stands for realized value. So this is the ratio between MV and RV. So this is the MV-RV ratio. Now, the market value, MV, is simply Bitcoin's market capitalization, right? And capitalization. It's calculated by basically multiplying the current price by the total circulating supply. So you could say that this is the current value of Bitcoin, and then RV is the realized value. Now that takes a slightly different approach. So instead of using the current price, it looks at the price at which the specific coin moved last time. So that is a metric that tells you at what price did that Bitcoin get bought. Okay, so if I bought Bitcoin at 100,000 and the MV, the market value for Bitcoin, drops to 90, that means that the market value is below my realized value. That is why the MVRV line is going down. It has a lower number if realized value is under the market value. Now, what this indicator is actually the MVRV C-score. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put a C-score calculation on the MVRV ratio. And a C-score is a way of calculating how far away a specific number is from the average number in terms of standard deviations. So if it's far away from the average to the downside, the C-score gives you a low number. Okay, so we're going to go in here now and we're going to add the C-score to the MVRV, and this now creates the MVRV C-score. And now if we remove the MVRV, we only get the C-score, and this tells you now this is the historic price action of Bitcoin, and it has certain levels. The important levels is the below down here, which is below 0.1. That is when the realized value of Bitcoin is historically much lower, or I mean the market value for Bitcoin is historically much lower from the realized value, which means that, you know, according to the laws of mean reversion, when the C-score is very low, it should bounce back. And that's what happens here, right? It has happened every time. Now, what happens if we put the price of Bitcoin on top of the MVRV C-score? Well, it looks like this. So the price of Bitcoin, orange, MVRV C-score, yellow. Let's put on all the Bitcoin bottoms. These are all the the bear market bottoms for Bitcoin, and as you can see, they align perfectly with the bottom of the MVRV C-score. The MVRV C-score is a on-chain indicator. It takes data from, in this case, I take the data from CoinGlass, which is an on-chain an analytical tool. So this is one thing that I'm looking for in terms of the bottom for Bitcoin. When do I think the bottom will come in, and where do I think we might be trading in the next 3 months? And according to this, I do think we're going to be lower, much lower, right? So in the next 3 months, I expect Bitcoin to have had a move below 60K and potentially entering the long-term accumulation. Another thing I wanted to show you guys. So now this is, you know, a good crash course in the MVRV C-score, and I want the MVRV C-score to be in the buy zone at least when we get a bottom for Bitcoin. I want to show you guys something else as well. This is something a lot of people have been talking about, and I've been getting a lot of questions on this lately. That is the weekly RSI, right? And it's important to remember what the RSI is, right? It's just a momentum oscillator, right? So all it does is it measures the current strength of the move in relationship to past price action. So if current prices are accelerating to the upside, RSI goes up. If it's accelerating to the downside, RSI goes down. The RSI doesn't know about levels, price action, supply and demand, or whatever. It has no idea. So the RSI indicator in of itself is no bottom indicator, right? It just tells you that price is gaining or losing momentum to the upside or the downside. So if we add the RSI here, we can see that historically, Bitcoin starts to form a bottom once RSI enters the oversold area on the weekly. And here we can see that RSI entered the oversold territory here, but it dumped 41.67% more after that happening. And that's exactly what we're getting right here. we haven't have, like what we had back then, we're starting to form like higher low structure on the RSI, and that's exactly what we're getting right here as well. All we're missing is lower low on price. That would be a bullish divergence. So what I need here from Bitcoin to technically give me a potential bottom is for price to give me a bullish divergence between price and the weekly RSI and the MVRV C-score going into that buy zone. And we can also see the visual representation of this by applying the weekly RSI to directly onto the chart. So you can see right here, the white circles, that's all the weekly RSI bottoms right here. And we have, one of two check points here done. Now we just need the MVRVC score to move lower. Okay, so that's looking at price and price derived indicator, combining it with some on-chain analysis. But what's arguably more important in my view is the macro conditions. And I'm going to show you a chart. You've probably seen this on Twitter. This is from Cross-Border Capital, led by a fantastic macro analyst called Michael Howell. I highly recommend checking out his Substack. You can just Google Cross-Border Capital Michael Howell, and you'll probably gain access to that. So this is this is not my chart. This is not my analysis. This is his stuff right here. The red wave that you have here, this is a 65-month sine wave with the GLI on top of it. So that's the global liquidity index, and this together creates the global liquidity cycle. Now, this is a simplified way of looking at the business cycle. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the business cycle, imagine that, simply put, it's all about the availability of money. If you go to your bank and ask for a loan, and they're very, very happy to give you money for low interest rates, and you go out and you buy things that you want but maybe don't need, that means that there's a lot of money in circulations, there's liquidity is improving, a business cycle is most likely expanding because people have more money, they can buy more stuff, they can take on more risk, and they're more confident in the economy is growing, everyone's happy. But then eventually it reaches a point where people are taking on a little bit too much risk, right? And when they take on too much risk in the system, governments and central banks are going to say, hey, wait a minute, there's too much risk here. There might be a systemic risk here. So we need to kind of dial down a little bit on the liquidity side, maybe raise interest rate a little bit so that the availability of money gets tightened and people are not taking on too much risk. And that is usually the top of the liquidity cycle, which is the top of the business cycle, which is what happens before a recession. And you can actually just take this chart right here, and then just apply something similarly to the business cycle chart. So I will show you another chart here. This is from Into the Cryptoverse. This is from Benjamin Cohen, who is founder of Into the Cryptoverse. This is his analysis, his chart, and I highly recommend you go check that out. I've just copied this from his Twitter. I hope that's okay, but definitely go check out his services. They're amazing, and this is a new chart that he has added. So what this is, it's a fairly simple calculation where the red is the business cycle. This is the ITC business cycle, and the blue one is S&P 500, and the gray areas are US recessions. And you can see that it aligns perfectly with the global liquidity cycle. So the top of the business cycle is the top of global liquidity, and they're almost the same thing. They're at least very correlated, right? And you've always had a recession after a top in the business cycle. And as you can see right here, we are trading right here. We've just put in a top in global liquidity exactly at the same time as we put in the top in Bitcoin. Now remember, Bitcoin is very correlated with global liquidity. And that's also why Bitcoin is the risky asset that drops first in a global liquidity top. All the risky assets, they drop first, and that's why we had Bitcoin dropping well before the stock market, right? We are now in the late stage of the business cycle or early contraction phase without having had a recession, which I think should be coming fairly soon because liquidity is weakening. We're getting out of a top from the business cycle. Now, there's a few things here worth noting. This doesn't mean that Bitcoin has to crash. This does not mean that the Dow Jones theory that I've played out here has to become true. Like if we have that 41% drop, like we saw on RSI, it takes us down to like 40 or 45K, but it doesn't have to happen. And one thing that I'm thinking about here, and also Anastasiia, you talked about oil, and if you put on there's another chart going around Twitter that's the rate of change, the ROC of oil, and you see that once momentum picks up on oil to the upside, it almost always happens before a recession, right? And it's all linked together with what you talked about. But there's one thing that I'm curious about, and that is going to be the next Fed share, and if there might be a reason for the Fed to look at a higher inflation target. And this is something that Darius Dale talks a lot about at 42 Macro. He thinks that the Fed is going to have a higher target for the inflation, maybe 3% instead of 2%. Now, what that happens is, or what that gives us is a reason for the Fed to be more looser with their monetary policy, right? Which means that they don't have to raise rates as much to get to their inflation target, and they can be more flexible with what they do with monetary policy. If that comes into effect earlier than what we expect, then maybe we're going to get a business cycle and a liquidity cycle that bottoms out earlier than expected. So if we assume that the business cycle, the liquidity cycles are going to continue the way they have always continued, we can just predict just using RSI entry. So from the moment where RSI entered oversold till the lowest in price, we had 24 weeks. That's going to be here. That puts us at a low in the price of Bitcoin at July this year. Now, if we look at where the actual break of structure happened, and when we could say that a bottom is confirmed, I would say it's a break above that resistance. So let's take us 41 week right here. That's going to be in November of this year. So I don't think the bottom for Bitcoin is going to be confirmed until end of this year. Now, this is analysis and this research is not complete yet. I need to understand when Powell is going to exit as chair of the Fed, and when the new Fed chair comes into effect, and when his new policies can actually start changing things. But I think Powell is going to be sitting for quite some time. All right, that's my views on what I'm looking at right now for Bitcoin.
I just want to fill in something that you said as well. If you can switch over to my screen here for a second. Now, I agree with pretty much everything. It's a great breakdown, but regarding the business cycle, I was looking at it yesterday from the perspective of yield control, yield inversion. Yield curve inversion, but also that's been continuing since the past 3 years without a recession. So that's the longest period of time for many years since we didn't have a recession after their inversion of the yield curve. Now, what is very interesting to also have a look at is a drawdown for Bitcoin. So the percentage of the drawdown after which we usually pick up at the bottom. So for every asset, there are specific drawdowns. Obviously, we take a high risk assets, it's a little bit more accurate as well in this way than very liquid assets, like for example, currencies. For cryptocurrency, I found that it works really well, including stock market also works really well as a drawdown indicator. So it shows you the levels on which, after which approximately the price finds bottom for this specific asset. For Bitcoin, we have several key levels. It's approximately 30%. So when we reach 35 to 30% of the drawdown, we can see that Bitcoin picks up usually. So that's 30 to 35% on average, right? Usually the price finds a bottom. We were at the 35% drawdown here. We were at the 33% drawdown here from the tops. We were here at around 32% drawdown. We were here at around 36% drawdown. So that's usually when we find the reversal. Now, the next important level is around 50%. So 50%, right, as Fibonacci also suggests to us, is about half of their total price. So the price is halving. This is approximately where the price also usually finds a bottom for any kind of asset, including Bitcoin. So that's historical. Historically, it was also 50% here, right? Approximately 50% all the way at the beginning. 50% here. That was, let me tell you specifically, the 21st, right, year 2021, the middle of it. We were at approximately 50%, like here, around December 23rd. And we are at the 50% at the current moment. So that's probably between 46 and 50%. So this is exactly where we are since months, since the price has been, since the beginning of 2026, we've been ranging around 50% of the drawdown from the highs. Now, since we didn't see a really big pickup, as we can see, right, we tried the recovery in here after reaching the 36% of the drawdown. The price fell to the next key level, 50% drawdown. The price tried to recover, and we see that we have a failure in recovering. So the price is failing to break above 75K, which is the key level itself for the price of Bitcoin. So if we continue in decision, the price might stay around 50%. If there will be another bearish leg down, which at the current moment we are both, I think, on the same page with you, Jonatan, in the next 2-3 months, maybe half a year, depending on the monetary policy and so on as well. I am expecting a next leg down, and that would be, as I was mentioning before, it should be around 50K, right, for the price of Bitcoin. But if you look at the drawdown indicator, it's in the next level is essentially around 70% to 85% drawdown. So we can see every time the price reaches 70 to 85%, we also find the reversal. And at this point, it would be around 40K, not 50. So in my opinion, the next leg down, if it would be formed in the next months before the reversal to the upside, would be approximately 40 to 50,000 for BTC that would align perfectly with the previous volume that we were accumulating here, this high volume block as well that was created here, and the next maximum drawdown from 70 to 85%, which is a key level for Bitcoin before picking back up. Now, I think what is also really interesting is sentimental perspective, and that's the last point that I'm going to say. In the poll, even in our chat, and I bet if you run the same poll on the bigger communities at the current moment, others, you're going to have the same approximately more or less percentage. So more people are going to still be bullish. And usually, as we know, the price after the massive drops, crises, recessions, goes up when people mainly turn bearish. It's the same exact statistics that 90% of people usually lose, retail traders. The price usually reverses when 90% of people are also in the opposite side. So as long as we are still, there is still hope among people that Bitcoin is going to pick up, I think most likely we're going to still have a one leg bearish down before the continuation to the upside. So I'm just repeating myself. I have a bullish perspective in the next 12 months. Approximately, but in the next 2, 3 months, 4 months, I think we're gonna still have another drop.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And also a note on that, like sentiment. I think from what I understand with sentiment is, it's always going to be wrong at the tops and the bottoms, right? It's always like, so there's one thing I'm thinking here, which is kind of like doesn't really. I don't really understand why there's so many people being bullish here at 60K. I don't understand why that's the case, because the bear market should be very, very obvious, right? I mean, we are in the business cycle is ending, global liquidity is thinning out. We're in a bearish structure on price. There's very few on-chain indicators telling us that there's even interest from the whales. Like, I don't really understand why people are bullish. Now, to say that you don't have to be bullish to be making money on this and to be trading this, you can still be short. Like, what I'm doing is I'm shorting strength right now. I'm looking at all coins and seeing like, hey, do we have rallies? I want to short that because we're in the bear market. So what I would like to see is people just accepting the fact. I was hoping to see that people accepting the fact that we were in a bear market, but then as we come closer down, people would be just capitulating completely and saying that I have no interest in the crypto market. Like, that's what I want to see at the bottom. So the fact that people are bullish and people think that we can put in a long-term bottom here, which we can, right? It just gives more pain once we break down, which I guess is a good thing, right? Because then at that point they can start, completely exiting and completely capitulating from the markets, because I believe that hasn't happened yet. We got a comment section saying that Boris needs to get a plant. Yeah, you're the only one that doesn't have a plant. You need to get a plant, man.
I was literally reading this comment, but my microphone was off. I said completely off topic, but audience wants you to get a plant, Boris.
Maybe we're the ones who need to get a
later.
Maybe we.
I want to actually.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So I'm actually one of the people that's bullish on Bitcoin, and I want to go into why.
Oh my God! I've been just ranting about how people are just not supposed to be bullish, and then you're bullish on it. Well, I'm sorry, I was not. Hopefully not offending you.
I'm very.
All right, go ahead. I want to know why you're bullish.
So first of all, I noticed this morning. I was looking at the Bitcoin ETF flows. And one thing I noticed is actually for Bitcoin, the ETF flows over the past, let's say, couple of weeks have been net positive. And actually yesterday when we were having our first stream, we had over 470 million in net inflows for the Bitcoin ETFs, which for me is very bullish from a fundamental perspective. So, ETF flows are one of the fundamental metrics that I actually incorporate into my Bitcoin trading. So actually find it's very bullish, these ETF flow statistics. So as of now, we have a total of 56 billion in total inflows from the time we started tracking ETF flows. And if you look at even the performance of Bitcoin over March, it was neutral to slightly positive in comparison to equities and commodities such as gold and silver, not including crude oil, as we know crude oil is making new highs. So if anything, I'm actually, from the ETF flow statistics, I'm quite bullish on what we're seeing. So I think actually, we're talking about the range we're currently in. Is it accumulation? Is it distribution? We did the whole inverse chart experiment thing, and I'm starting to think this is like an area where institutions are starting to accumulate, like, slowly. They're not going to do it all at once. They're probably doing it day by day. But I guess yesterday, for whatever reason, like the IBIT, which is the BlackRock ETF, they purchased 182 million in Bitcoin, and then the Fidelity Bitcoin Trust purchased 147 million. That's pretty big. So that's one bullish thing on my side for Bitcoin. And then the other thing, this is more of a technical thing, but I'm tracking the 55 exponential moving average on the monthly for Bitcoin. And I actually did a bit of a study on this. So basically, whenever Bitcoin tests the 55 EMA, which is represented by this this green ribbon on my chart, whenever it tests it tests the 55 EMA, it does tend to lead to moves up eventually. So I did a little historical study on this. So the first time this happened was, actually back in 2012, so over a decade ago. This led to a move of over 20,000% in Bitcoin. Now, obviously, it was quite young at that point, but it did bounce off 55 EMA. Then we saw the same thing happen in 2015. This led to 7,000 move percent in Bitcoin. Once again, we saw Bitcoin hold on to the 55 EMA in 2019. This led to another bounce. Then once again, we retested it in 2020 after COVID. This led to a 750% move in Bitcoin. Now, the one time we did lose the 55 EMA was back in 2022. This was during the whole FTX debacle. And when this happened, Bitcoin did go down by 63%. And then after it regained it, we did have the move up to the all-time highs at 120K. And right now, the reason that I'm bullish is that we're actually still holding on to the 55 exponential moving average on the monthly, which is currently sitting at $63,000. So for me, this is the line in the sand. As long as Bitcoin remains above 63K or 60, let's call it 60K just as a buffer zone, I'm gonna remain bullish. I think if we go below 60K, I think it's gonna be very bad. I'm gonna go to the 50, 40K targets like you guys mentioned, and I think it's gonna mean like a lot of death and destruction for altcoins if Bitcoin breaks below this level. But for now, I'm bullish as long as Bitcoin is above 60,000.
Yeah, I can definitely see what you're saying here. But I guess the only thing that we're kind of for 60K to be the bottom, I think we need improving liquidity conditions, improving macro environment for that to happen, and maybe we'll see the Fed perhaps look more towards a higher inflation target for that to be possible. But again, we don't really need the macro. We don't really need the fundamentals. All we really need is look at price. So what I would want to see, at least from price, is to get a move back above 75 or something like that, and kind of establish support there. But then perhaps get above 80 and 85. But I don't know, man. I think what's funny also, within the thing with bear markets for Bitcoin, we usually trend up, which is weird to say, but most of price action on the daily is actually trending up in bear markets for Bitcoin. Now, what I mean by that is the way Bitcoin works in a bear market, and we can kind of look at it on my chart here, is the moves to the downside, and it's a good representation of that right now. If we look at this as that is the confirmation of the bear market. Let's say we broke below the range here. If we look at this range, then this is an uptrend locally, and then this is pretty much, at least this level. You could argue that this is also an uptrend, but at least this level is an uptrend. So more than half of the current bear market has been local uptrends, and this is why this is why a lot of people are sometimes quite bullish on Bitcoin in the bear market, because it's showing strength, right? It's showing strength, but it's not really showing strength. It's just showing the same thing that it usually shows, in my opinion. We can just simply go back to the last bar market and look at what happened during this window, and we see relatively bullish price action here with higher lows, and bullish price action here with higher highs, and then bullish price action even here, and then we have some type of price action slowly moving to the upside right here. But all of the breakdowns now, of course, we're talking about the Luna crash and the FTX. Was this FTX and Luna? Was that back here? Man, it's been so long, I can't remember. Was FTX in 2022?
Yeah, that was in 2022.
Yeah, so obviously
as well as Luna.
Yeah. So Luna, I think this is Luna, right? And then that is FTX, if I'm not mistaken. Because Luna happened first, but whatever. Luna,
yeah.
Yeah, I think this is Luna, right? Wow, that was crazy.
Yeah, Luna was during the summer. I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, because I remember this vividly, because I was out on a walk with my son. We were walking around in the forest, and I was getting all of these alerts, right? I think I had an alert between 20 below 25k on Bitcoin, and I haven't looked at Bitcoin, I believe, for a couple of days, but we were trading around 30k, and then all of a sudden I was out on this walk, and I had an alert going off Bitcoin is trading below 25k. No, it can't be, it can't be. So I thought that was wrong with something wrong with the alert, and then I opened my phone, and it's Luna collapse, and getting messages from friends and family who actually invested in the stable coin, right? Man, that was crazy. A lot of people lost a lot of money during that dump. But the thing is, with the sad part about all of this is that for the Fed to start printing money and injecting money into the system, there sort of has to be crisis. And obviously Luna and FTX, that was the crisis within crypto. But that's usually what markets do, right? You have a expanding an economy, and then it ends with a recession and some type of crisis. That's just a cycle of things, right? People just pile on more risk and more debt, and they just get more of that easily available liquidity and money, and then eventually it all collapses. So the question is, what will that be? You know what I mean? Because I think we're going to have some type of event, and people will look at this and say, oh, Bitcoin crashed because of this, the market crashed because of this. But it's not really because of that one event. But there is probably going to be one event that always happens at the end of a liquidity cycle, right? But We just don't know what that event will be. Now, if we look at the current geopolitical situation, might have something to do with that. Might be prolonged oil prices or whatever. But I don't know, guys. If you guys in the comments section, if you had to pick one thing, what do you think that would be? If you had to pick one event that might be like, if we look back at this live stream in 1 year, and we say, yeah, that was the event that marked the capitulation, or that was the event that marked the max fear and max panic in the market, because we are going to get something like that. We have someone in the comments saying Peter Schiff once said Bitcoin will be zero. Yeah, he did. A lot of people once said that Bitcoin will go to zero. Maybe it will. Maybe it will. Maybe there's going to be proof that it was created by CIA, and then it's just going to dump to zero. Probably not, though. Who knows? Yeah, I think Boris is...
I think Boris' connection is quite bad.
I think so as well.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I think as well.
If we can also switch to my screen again. I always work on, basically building up on what we said before. I always work on the correlations between assets. So I don't, for example, buy one of the assets if the other one is not at the same level, which is highly correlated. I work in the same exact way in the intraday trading, by the way. So I don't enter, for example, gold position if silver is not correlated. I don't enter currencies if the currencies are not correlated, the same as Ethereum and Bitcoin. So I work with two of those for the cross correlation, and I pick one of those for the entry. So if we talk about the Ethereum, for example, we talked about Bitcoin, so Ethereum is essentially very similar, right? So we also hit 50 to 60% drawdown, which is a crucial level for Ethereum. And then the next zone for Ethereum will be eventually 75 to 95% of the drawdown. So this is a massive zone. Now, this is what is interesting on Ethereum, and it's quite different than Bitcoin, is that Ethereum broke 50%. And if we look at the analysis of the just drawdown, we see that it tried to recover to 50% of the drawdown, and it failed. And at the technical level as well, if I zoom in slightly, we will see that Ethereum was trying to recover essentially higher than 2.2K. And that was a sweep of the liquidity, and we failed. So in my opinion, Ethereum here is clearly representing that the price of crypto is just not ready to continue to go to just go and pick up the upside, because people are not even accepting the high prices of the assets. So what Boris was saying about the inflows, it's very interesting. And I was analyzing the inflows also of institutional inflows into Nasdaq and US 30, for instance. However, if it comes to crypto, if you look throughout the last year, I'm not 100% sure. I need to study this more deep, but I'm not 100% sure that the inflows, institutional influence in the ETFs of Bitcoin and Ethereum were correlated towards the upside movement, because we had several inflows on the last 360 days, massive ones throughout some periods of time, and they did not cause, as far as I know, the upside movement. So I'm not sure if this inflows necessarily mean the upwards momentum. I think it's more, in my personal opinion, the average in the buying price. And that's another reason that why I'm bullish long-term. Long-term, I think we're going to continue to go up, because institutions, one of the reasons is because institutions are buying. But if I'm a big institution, and okay, they have an insider's information to a certain degree, but at every important level, I'm going to be buying it to average my buying price, because getting the perfect buying price before the big reversal is practically impossible for many reasons. One of the reasons is just not enough liquidity to fill it in, the orders. So you need to keep averaging the position. which means, okay, I'm going to buy at 65K, I'm going to buy at 60K, I'm going to buy at 55K, I'm going to buy at 50K. My average entry is going to be quite good if the price is going to pick up back to 80, 90, 100 in the future. But I'm not sure that the inflows at the current moment are going to be correlated towards the reversal at this very moment necessarily,
So I think, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think it's also important that we remember what it means when we're seeing inflows into ETFs, what like who's actually buying that. So there's a lot of talks about saying, okay, IBIT, for example, is BlackRock's ETFs. So when we have money flowing into the BlackRock ETF, people are saying, wow, the institutions are buying. But we got to understand that over 60% of the ETFs are retail traders. That's retail volumes, right? So we need to understand, like, okay, the ETF inflows that we're seeing, which part of the traders is that? Is it the 40% that are institutions, or is it the 60% retails? It's also important to remember that we had massive outflows in the drop. So November, December or so, we had just looking at March, the beginning of March, I believe we have 1.5 billion inflows in the beginning of March. I think I'm just doing some research here, looking at some numbers, and I think we have closer to like a total of 2 billion in inflows during March, which is good, right? But we had over 4 billion in outflows during this move to the downside. So we have recovered during March about half of the outflows that we saw during the crash. And now the question is, was this the institution selling only, or was that just retail and everyone's selling? And who's getting back in? Is it the institutions or the retail? So the ETF inflows is something that I'm trying to understand. What does it really mean? And I want to see the I want to see the outflows of the crash recover, which I don't think it actually has recovered yet. I don't think we have bought back all of the outflows that we've had at the end of last year. So I remember doing some research on this when Goldman Sachs came out with a research saying that they think Bitcoin has bottomed. And I looked at that. I looked at the report. I went through all the data that they said was bullish for Bitcoin, and I looked at it, and I actually figured out that none of the data that they said was bullish was actually bullish. Everything was actually bearish, and that kind of must get you think, okay, so Goldman Sachs, they know what they're doing. They're analysts, they're professionals, they really know what they're doing. If they put out a report saying buy Bitcoin, giving you data that's actually not bullish at all, you got to think. For me, that kind of smells like we want lower prices. We want people, retail, to buy because we are looking at lower prices, and we need that liquidity to sell. Which is like, that's just me thinking along the lines of like a conspiracy theorist. I don't even know if that's the way it works, but it's weird because I remember going through the report. I'm like, this is not bullish at all. Like it's quite contrary. It's quite bearish. So I think I'm gonna dive deeper into the on-chain data for tomorrow's live stream as well. Kind of look at the things like whale accumulation and like long-term holders and things like that to see if are we actually, is whales accumulating here? Is the long-term holders actually increasing? And what's actually happening on chain? Because when I did that research on Goldman Sachs, that was a few weeks ago, and back then was quite quite obvious that was nothing bullish about that.
One thing, it could be dark pools that are buying the Bitcoin with the ETFs, because they can't do large orders all at once with the liquidity that we have right now. So, they could be doing it in basically in dark pools, if people are familiar with that.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept. I haven't really looked into what how dark pools would like what the market dynamics are for dark pools and how it's actually it's an interesting concept. Maybe you can explain a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so essentially, if let's say a large institution like BlackRock, gets requests from their clients to buy Bitcoin via their ETF, and it's in the amount of 500 million, like we saw yesterday. Obviously, if they put in a $500 million market order into the market via Coinbase or whatever exchange they're using, that's going to move the price a lot. So they have to do basically have to do like an over-the-counter order, like connecting to different exchanges and finding the best price based on the volume that they need. So they basically do this over the counter or an OTC order via like big exchanges like Coinbase or Kraken or Gemini in the US. And so they basically order Bitcoin or buy Bitcoin from different exchanges in order to get filled at the best possible price. So it might not be reflected automatically in the charts because they do it in chunks or like periods of time, from what I understand. So if they get like a $500 million inflow or like $500 million request to buy Bitcoin, they're going to do it in chunks over periods of time, and they're going to look at the best like bid and ask spread across different exchanges and try to get filled at the best price.
Yeah, and these are not necessarily orders that hit the order book and hit the market of the exchange, right? It's kind of like
exactly.
It would be in a sense where exchanges, they have Bitcoin to sell, and they do a deal over the counter instead of going directly to market.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know how it works because I'm not a big whale. Like I'm not buying 500 million.
Unfortunately, I've never done a order like that. Yeah, I think you're lagging.
And actually, it's quite better.
Yeah, but definitely,
I have
definitely makes sense.
Off-topic question: is this plant real or fake, Jonatan?
Oh, it's real, dude. I got this. This one? Oh, yeah. It's very real.
It's bamboo?
Very real. What?
Is it bamboo?
Yeah, it's bamboo. Yep, very real. I got that years ago. It's amazing because like it doesn't have a lot of light here in the basement, but it seems to thrive. Is yours real? That doesn't look real. Is it real?
It's real. Actually found out that it's real when I was moving it, and I dropped a couple of leaves, and I was like, oh, it's real.
Oh, you don't water it?
It's not me. It's in the office.
Oh, because you have people in the office watering for you.
They kind of take care of it. But now I was moving it, and I was like, oh, that actually is real.
Nice. Well, I don't have people watering for me. And you know what? Like, it's actually not real. Okay, it's not real. It's fake. It's IKEA.
I was thinking this. It looks so good.
It's
it looks too good to be real.
Real thing as possible. It does look pretty good. Yeah.
It looks really good.
And I thought your plant looked fake.
I know. I thought so as well until today.
Yeah. Huh, crazy, isn't it? Yeah, I am. Well, I'm touching plastic grass, I guess.
I have also my small Lamborghini right here until I get my real one.
Oh, finally, you got yourself a Lamborghini.
I got my first Lamborghini. It
Nice.
has an open doors. Okay, so
Nice. Now all you need is just to become very small so you can fit into that.
no, I need to get a real one. Wait, this is a work in progress.
Right, you get it. Like it's kind of like what's the law of affirmation, right? Right, you think about it long enough, and then you'll all of a sudden gonna appear in your driveway.
You work for it long enough, and then suddenly, all of a sudden, it appears in your driveway. I would say.
Do I have anything in here? I actually did have a Lego F1 car, but I'm never gonna get an F1 car though. That's what it is. I have big dreams, unrealistic dreams. Yeah.
Come on, it's better to have big, unrealistic dreams than small ones.
It's better to have big dreams and fail than to have no dreams and succeed.
Yeah, amen to that.
Definitely. They're asking where you're from, Anastasiia. Where you're based?
Well, I'm from when I'm based at two different topics. I'm from Ukraine. I'm based in Spain. So I finally, after many years, found myself a place for living. So
Spain's nice. Spain's
it's amazing.
nice.
It's awesome.
How's weather now? It's pretty good, isn't it?
24 yesterday. I got dark just from playing paddle and walking outside.
Well, I wouldn't say you're dark, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, it's dark. I'm normally white, like a wall.
I actually have pretty good lighting in my office. You can see now I'm very white, as you can see, and then now I'm orange. So
it's a fake tan right at the reach of your hand.
Yeah, it's a fake plant and it's a fake tan. Everything's fake. They're saying you're Ukrainian with Russian accent, but it's pretty similar.
But I mean, guys, actually in Ukraine we speak both languages, so I think I would say it's normal.
Yeah. All right. Oh, I completely lost my train of thought here. Let's go to my list here with altcoins. Actually, let's see. Let's take a look at the list of altcoins here, and I'm going to look at what are the biggest gainers. We got ZEC, which I believe is Zcash, which had some pretty good gains today. And what I like to do is I'd like to look at altcoins like this one, and then see, okay, are we hitting some type of resistance? Because again, I believe because of the overall markets are bearish, I think we should be looking at shorts on altcoins. And we do have an area right here, kind of hitting that resistance zone. Now what I want to see is a rejection at this level to perhaps short. This is Zcash, right? I do believe it's Zcash, yeah. Yes, it's Zcash. And if this is a range, then I would like to see if I can get a move down towards the range lows. So probably I'm going to short this level somewhere around here and then take it down to the range lows. See if I can get some. I'm probably not going to be able to take a trade on this today though, because the daily candles is creating a wick. I would like to see a wick up into the highs and then form some type of rejections. Guys, let me know in the comment section. Would you be shorting this? Would you go long? I mean, 70% of you are bullish on Bitcoin for the next 3 months. What about the next 2 months though? Let's let me know. Is there any altcoins you're looking at today in the chat? Let me know. I'd be happy to take a look at that. But man, Zcash had an insane move. Nah, I think we're gonna go lower. Yeah, so this one,
the privacy coins in general are doing pretty well, like Monero is up.
Yeah.
Well, it's only up
But I don't
1% in comparison to Zcash, but I think the privacy coin sector is doing pretty well.
Yeah, it is doing very well. I think it's privacy coins and AI sector is pretty much outperforming. I can't remember why AI coins are outperforming. I did some research on that a while ago. It has something to do with like the idea of like central bank digital currencies and things like that, right? Let me
I
see.
think it's
if
just
I can
because it's
find it.
AI. It's still a bubble.
So, but what does privacy coins have to do with AI?
Oh no, that's a separate topic. I think privacy coins are a big thing right now just because of the whole situation in the Middle East. So I think a lot of countries that are under sanctions right now, they're switching, or perhaps the narrative is that they're switching to more privacy-focused coins, like Zcash and like Monero, like Dash. Although, personally for me, Monero is my favorite one.
Oh yeah, definitely. Monero is same here. I like Monero. Okay, so let me see. I actually found some research I did on privacy coins here, so I'm going to see if I can find that. I did. I remember I wrote an article on that, but I can't remember. Okay, privacy. Yeah, I honestly, I didn't really see a big reason. It might have to do with what you talked about. But what's interesting is the fact that AI altcoins and privacy tokens started rallying at the same time. So it's kind of like, I mean, what I'm thinking is like surveillance increasing and AI might be ramping that up, and privacy coins might be able to play a role in, securing people's privacy. But I don't know. It's a bit of a weird thing, because I can't really see good reasons for them to be moving the way they're moving.
I mean, realistically, for we are still in the range, right? So
yeah,
if you look at the bigger perspective, we are basically in the range. I mean, sure, we can trade from the resistance support of the range, but until we have some kind of clarification from macro, I don't think we are going anywhere much.
No, I don't know what this is, but I'm definitely gonna short this. I have no idea what this is, but when I see something like this, it's just this to me. I gotta see if I can find an exchange with more data on this one. I need to understand what this is. Yeah. Okay. So this is a lot of data. This is from 2021. Like what is this? This isn't. Look at these candles. Wow, looks like art. Like someone has like done some type of painting with the candlesticks. Anyways, is this the same chart? No, it's not even the same chart. It's completely different. Okay, we're gonna look at where can we actually find this with good price action. Well, that's a gap. That's a bit of a gap right there. Okay, so this is what we're looking at right here. Yeah, I probably want to short this. Let's look at the 4 hour.
I like how you're just like, I don't know what it is. I don't care what it is. I'm just gonna short this.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with altcoins. I mean, 90 to 99% of all the altcoins out there is just a money grab. It's just gonna, they're gonna die. It's just project that someone like, oh, listen to this idea, and then someone's like, oh, that's a great idea. Like, here's $10 million. Let's create an altcoin, and then they create an altcoin and pump the price, dump it, and people are left with bags and community holders, but it doesn't really matter from a trading perspective. You can still short it. That's the beauty of crypto platform. There's so many shitty altcoins out there that just absolute trash. We can just short the shit out of it, right? That's a good question. What do you think about Dodge? Okay, Dodge is actually quite interesting because that is I'd like to call it a cyclical. It's cyclical meme coin, right? Let's take a look at an actual exchange for it. So if you look at the weekly, yeah, so this is the arithmetic chart. In this case, I'm probably better off looking at that one. So Dodge is quite cyclical, and I think, once risk appetite starts picking up, once we do see a bottom in Bitcoin. Now, it's the whole idea here with us being in like a late phase of a business cycle is probably why we didn't have an altcoin season this time, because the way that for money to rotate from Bitcoin into the altcoin market, and that's basically how you get an altcoin season, is people are bullish on Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin stops moving. People are still bullish on the overall market conditions, so they rotate from Bitcoin into altcoin. So all of that money in Bitcoin goes into altcoin. It doesn't leave the crypto space, but just rotates into altcoins. But then if people are not very happy about the economy, the liquidity goes down and people don't have enough money to risk that money, they're going to pull the money out of Bitcoin, and then they're going to sit on that money. They're not going to invest it into altcoins, right? So I believe that's why we didn't have an altcoin season this time, because I believe this is the first time that we had a bull market in Bitcoin in a late stage business cycle, which has never happened before, which is why this is also the first time where we had literally no altcoin season at all. At least in the last bull market, we had like some time of altcoin movement, but we didn't have any of that this time. So I like some of these cyclical meme coins because they have absolutely no fundamental value. Like Dodge is basically worthless.
Yeah, totally.
But it's a meme. It's a meme, and it's gonna pump. And that's the thing. Shit coins, they do pump the hardest. So if you look at something like, I don't know, Pepe. This is also one of those cyclical meme coins. Does look pretty bad right now, though. This is really, really bad. But it's probably going to pick up once liquidity returns into the markets. It's probably going to pick up, and I'm gonna the way I'm going to be trading these meme coins. We got something like Popcat. What the hell is this? Popcat? Yeah. So if you look at this is insane. So we look at we've got Brett as well. This looks healthy. This is like the perfect picture of health and fitness right here. This is just crazy. But yeah, we have coins like that, and the way I want to be trading this is if we see signs that Bitcoin is bottoming out and we get liquidity back into the market, just risking something like 0.2% or something on an altcoin like this. Let's say it maybe breaks that trend line, maybe reclaims this level, and just risking a very small amount on something like this, and you might actually be able to get a big winner. You just have to hold it for a very long time, so maybe up to these highs. I mean, you can get like a 10-hour trade on this in a matter of weeks, because we know that once the meme coins start moving, once we get that altcoin season and money is actually rotating from Bitcoin into altcoins, it doesn't take very long. I mean, from that breakout right here to the top, 50 days. And we're talking about, 250% in 50 days. So, yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, if you go in with 1%, just 1% on your account on this, you're going to get quite a solid return. Yeah, what about SHIB? Do we have SHIB here?
I wouldn't downplay like Doge and even SHIB, because even though we're in a bear market right now, like memes can be very powerful. So, whenever the narrative shifts to a more bullish sentiment, then I think we're going to see a pump in meme coins again, especially in like Dogecoin, like is obviously the most popular. I would almost say it's not even a meme coin at this point. It's almost like I mean, there's a lot of development happening on actually the Doge blockchain. Like people are minting NFTs on it, or they were like a year ago. So I think if anything, like Doge is almost like not like a layer one, but it's almost as it's
a layer one.
I would put it. Yeah, layer one meme coin. Yeah, that's the best way to put it.
But guys, are you talking about the alt season, or are you talking about in general, that they're going to pick up immediately when we have their little bit more risk appetite again? So what's your opinion? Are they going to wait for the alt season first, or are we going to see the growth and the pump in them immediately?
Good question.
People have been asking when is alt season coming for the past year or two, and it hasn't come. And I guess to answer your question, I don't think, there's going to be like one or two memes here and there that will probably pump based on the narrative. But until we see, projects like Ondo and all these new projects that have popped up in the past 2 years start to rally, I think meme coins are like second in line after after the main altcoins that are currently in the top 50, because they're down by like 80% in comparison to Bitcoin, which is down about 50% at this point.
Guys, I need your help in the comment section. So we're gonna do a giveaway today, and I'm gonna give away today a 2-step 10K account to the person that gives us the absolute worst trading advice in the comment section. So the absolute worst trading advice in the comment section today will win a 2-step 10K challenge. Okay, so go at it, as many comments as possible. Just the absolute worst trading advice you could ever imagine will win a account today. Okay, that's going to be interesting. Let's see.
It's probably pretty much everything that I did throughout my trading journey. In the beginning, for sure.
We have one comment saying, if a trade comes against you, add. I mean, the thing is with that, it doesn't have to be, that doesn't have to be bad. I mean, some people, it's good. Okay, I have another one say, do not use stop loss, let the trade go on. This is these are not the, like I'm talking about here, guys. Like I'm talking about, you take advice from your Uber driver, perhaps tells you about Dogecoin. So you call up your contact at the bank, you mortgage your whole house to buy more Doge. You then have to file for bankruptcy, and then you start all over, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in the same Uber car, and you take same advice again to take out the same loan again, but this time you buy SHIB, right? And then of course you have to file for bankruptcy again. I mean, we're talking about those types of trade advice in like relationship to also life advice. If your mom asks you about meme coin, buy more. Yeah, okay, that's good. When my mom calls me and asks for financial advice, I tell her to send me all her money instead, and then I'll blow it on high leverage bets on meme coins. Click on a random crypto group that goes to share your ID and crypto wallet. It's in a weird, like, I've signed up to so many weird exchanges out there, and KYC, like my KYC details are in some of the weirdest places out there, I'm sure. Like, all right, we need more bad advice. More bad advice. Okay, let's see. We got a couple of minutes here. More bad advice, and we'll be giving away an account to the absolute worst advice out there today. Okay, so we got Zcash. Let me see if I can put on some alerts on this one. I think if I'm going to short this, I want to short higher, so I'm going to be putting an alert up here. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna see if I can add some moving averages on here as well. So I want to find all coins that are trading, somewhere around like this area on the possible highs, kind of forming a lower high so I can short it. Now we're talking. This is a good one. Okay, if you don't have enough money, you can borrow from friends, family, and the bank, and maybe even one of those loan apps with crazy interest, because pressure equals peak performance. That's good. I like that. I'm saving that one. Okay, so let's see if we can find any altcoins that I'm looking at. And by the way, guys, you can also trade gold with us. We have PAX G, so let's take a look at that. Where do we have PAX? Let's take a look. Let's sort them by okay, here we got PAX G. So this is actually gold.
Yeah, but gold is essentially dead today. We're still waiting for decision regarding Iran. So it's since yesterday and since the announcement of Trump, it hasn't been going anywhere. I trade gold daily, so it was absolutely zero today. Nothing. Dead.
Yeah. No, it's pretty. This is pretty. Not anything is happening here.
No, I think we are absolutely not going anywhere until anything tonight. Like it's some kind of clarification we're gonna get.
Okay, we can switch over to my screen. Let's see if we can find something interesting here. I'm just going to quickly go through the market. So one way that I like doing it when I'm analyzing this market. So let's just see if it's possible to switch it. Yeah. So if you first flag a coin in TradingView like this, you can then press Alt Enter and it will add and remove that one. So what I usually do is I have one finger on the space bar, so I can just go through the whole list, and then I can quickly add whatever I see is interesting to a specific colored list. So what I'm looking for here is moves that I believe might be extended to the upside. So I have the 20 and 50 EMA just to give me some idea on this. And then I'm going to be adding the RSI as well, just to get the sense of momentum. And then I'm going through the list like this, and I'm just trying to find something that has been pumping recently. Move that. Yeah, algo, definitely. Look at this. This is way overextended to the upside. This screams short me. So I'm not even going to think about the next ones. I'm going to be looking for a short here. Okay, so what's the trade? Okay, obviously that's the level where I want to TP. Now the 4 hour, look at that double top right there. This is perfect, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to okay, this is, let's see, up here. I think this is probably the resistance. Yeah, I'm looking to short this. I don't think we're going to reclaim that level above. And I'm going to look to take it down here. So we're looking at around 2R on that one. So let me just go into DX Trader, open a position on this one. Let's see if I can... I'm going to switch to, sorry for that, I switched to my, okay, can you see it? Perfect. Okay, so let's just go to Algo. And then what I can do is, it's pretty cool. When I'm on TradingView desktop, I can just copy the short tool and then just paste it right in here. And that did not work at all. Never mind. Okay, so let's see, where do we have the short tool? Right here, and I'm going to TP around that level, going into the 4 hour, and I wanted to have my stops above that level right there. Okay, so right click, create limit order. I'm risking 0.25 market order. All right, there we go. I am short on that one. All right, we got today's winner. Obviously, it's going to be, well, let me see. Okay, so the username is Anchor9JKO089-H4F. Congratulations. That's a very complicated username. Maybe you should think about changing that one. But you are today the winner of a 10K, not 20K, sorry, 10K two-step challenge. So what I need you to do is to add your email to your YouTube profile. So when I go to your YouTube profile, there should be an email on there, and that should be the email that you use to sign up to Tradeify Crypto. With that said, I would like to thank you all for joining here today, and we'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. And in tomorrow's session, I want to be focusing a little bit more on the lower to medium time frame on Bitcoin. Now we have covered, our views on the long-term picture for Bitcoin, and tomorrow we'll see if we can find something interesting to actually be trading within this structure or whatever.
Let's see how the night goes as well.
Yeah.
So because maybe tomorrow we're gonna have something very interesting happening.
Yeah, hopefully. Because today's a deadline, right?
Yeah. Well, I prefer personally the really high volatility market than completely dead market, the sideways like we have today. So
yeah.
Wow. I'm
actually the latest.
Yeah, can you share that screenshot, because that's insane.
The latest headline is that Trump warns a whole civilization will die tonight. So,
wow,
pretty crazy talk from Trump.
Man, he's been upping the pressure lately.
And then Iran said that all diplomatic channels with US have ceased. So, looks like there's not going to be any negotiations. So but again, these are news headlines, so take it with a grain of salt. Yeah.
Yeah, and I see also Karg Island is being heavily bombed in preparation for U.S. Special Forces ground seizure. So, I guess what I see as the most probable outcome for this is probably ground invasion after the deadline.
I think so too.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's very bad.
and I think that's going to be, honestly, I think that's going to prolong this whole. I mean, I'm not an expert at anything when it comes to this, but if you look at the geographical nature of Iran, with the mountains and everything, a ground operation in Iran doesn't look like something that's done easily. You know, it's probably going to take a while. Anyway, guys, with that said, let's see what we get tomorrow. We might have some insane movements overnight, and it's going to be really interesting to see how the markets are moving after. Thank you all for joining, and we will see you all tomorrow. Take care.